and I made him watch. Okay, so
Okay. Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm ready.
You're ready.
I'm ready to get the episode started. This is yeah.
This is your episode. This is
This is
episode
my
20.
episode. Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you don't know, listeners, every 10 episodes, Troy gets to pick the movie. I usually would like him to pick something he hasn't seen, but this time he's seen it. He didn't realize he had seen it, but he's seen this movie.
Listen, tomato, okay?
Mhm.
Movies are movies, okay? Just because I've seen a movie doesn't mean that we can't get on here and talk about it. And not to mention, it's been at least 20 years since I've seen it.
Probably.
So, I mean, that's long enough to declare legally never having seen it, I feel like. So, anyways, we're going to get started to today's episode.
Okay. Hello and welcome to And I Made Him Watch, the podcast where I make my husband watch old, scary, strange, or just plain weird movies. I'm your host, Dani Page, and here with me forever and always, the mastermind behind this live, the filmmaker and my husband, Troy Allen. How you feeling?
I'm good.
Good?
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah?
Every day is a blessing, and we need to be thankful for being here. And I'm just bullshitting you.
Okay.
Today is it's a fun time.
You sound like you're having a bunch of fun. You sound like you're having a fun time.
I am. I'm having a blast. I'm
Okay.
excited to talk about this episode for one, because it is a doozy for sure.
Oh yeah, it is going to be a ride today. So as I said earlier, we are on episode 20, which means Troy got to pick the movie and he chose the classic, The Twilight Zone, the movie. It's a revamping of the classic hit show, The Twilight Zone, featuring a prologue and 4 different segments. It's like a show within a show or a movie within a movie, like Inception, but not.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Inception was at least not freaky. This movie
That's a little freaky.
is a little freaky.
It's a little freaky. It is.
Yeah.
So this iconic movie starts with some establishing shots of some mountain roads, and then CCR's The Midnight Special setting a moody and dark mood. This is the prologue, a story about the driver, played by Albert Brooks, and the passenger, played by one and only Dan Aykroyd. After the tape player in the car breaks, the two begin to entertain themselves. First, the driver starts to flick the car headlights on and off, creeping out the passenger a little bit. After this harmless game, the two begin playing the theme song game, and they take turns humming and vocalizing theme songs from shows and movies.
I personally thought it was super weird seeing such a young Dan Aykroyd.
So young.
Like, I've gone back and watched some of some episodes from like the first season of SNL and stuff. And, you know, he's got that like iconic mustache and stuff, and like, you know, he's just very 70s, you know.
Yeah.
And but granted, like, I'm used to seeing him a little older from like Ghostbusters and, you know, Blues Brothers and stuff,
Yeah.
and, you know, Coneheads. But it was very interesting to see that version of him for sure.
Do you know he's actually really into like UFOs?
Yeah.
He's really into UFOs, and that's kind of wild and cool to me.
It is very cool.
I would love to talk to Dan Aykroyd about aliens and the universe and UFOs.
You know what? I'm sure that Dan Aykroyd is loving our podcast right now. I bet you he tunes in every Sunday, just like that kid from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
Anyways,
okay. Dream. We
also,
can dream.
I gotta say, playing the theme song, humming the show, or sorry, the game.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like something that we would do.
Yeah, it does. We would totally do that.
Yeah.
Because we're nerds.
Next road trip.
The subject of the Twilight Zone comes up, and the two begin trading their favorite and scariest episodes from the famous show. The passenger then asks the driver if he wants to see something really scary. The driver responds with a, "You bet." The passenger tells the driver to pull over the car. The driver, convinced, pulls the car over, and the passenger then turns around and reveals his monstrous form and kills the driver. Cue the iconic Twilight Zone theme song and narrator.
If if I've got to pull the car over for you to show me something scary, yeah, you got me fucked up. Like, I ain't doing that. No, you can get your ass out of the car. That's fucked up, dude. I just don't understand, like, why you would even do it. It's just like, nah, I think I'm just gonna keep driving.
Yeah, I don't. It's not that important for me to see the scary things if we have to
No,
stop our progress of traveling.
I think I'd rather
No.
just keep going. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So segment 1 is called Timeout. The narrator explains to us that the angry and sour William Bill Connor, played by Vic Morrow, who is arriving at a bar, he's meeting with a few pals and tells the group that he can't stay long. It's revealed that he has been passed over for a promotion for his Jewish coworker. He then proceeds to get a little handsy with the waitress in the bar, even though he's a married man. Big surprise there. Bill says some very, very, very problematic things about his Jewish coworker, things that will not be repeated here.
Dude.
He.
First off, it was super eerie seeing Vic Morrow on screen in this film. Obviously, we've seen him in a previous film that we've done an episode about, Humanoids from the Deep.
Yes.
But seeing him in this, knowing what's going to happen to him during this production, was super eerie. It's like...
It's strange, right?
Yeah, it's like watching, I don't know.
Like, it's like we're watching a timeline or a historical event and not being able to change anything.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And also, yeah, these dudes are super fucking racist, dude. I could not believe the shit this dude was saying.
He just went all out.
Dude.
So Bill's ranting and choice of words start to get the attention of the other bar patrons. He continues to rant and make more bigoted and racist remarks, even throwing a hard R in there, which gets the attention of a black man sitting nearby. Some words are exchanged, and Bill's pals try to alleviate some of the tension, but Bill's just not letting it go. Bill goes on to brag and claim that he's better than any of the minorities.
Yeah, I don't think that I've ever seen this much racism in a film. I don't think I have. Well, no, I don't know. I think I'm going to stick by that.
Okay, you stick by that. So, tired of not being understood, right, Bill leaves the bar dramatically, but instead of finding himself outside the bar, he is transported to Nazi-occupied France during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Soon, some patrolling Nazi officers stumble upon Bill and try to question him. But being the great American man he is, Bill doesn't speak any other language than English.
Wow.
Bless. Bill tries to flee the officers and gets shot in the arm. He's able to hide in some trash and lose the officers for now.
Yeah, bro. You done fucked up. Okay, you done fucked up. Just, plain and simple. I just thought it was super wild. Like, how do you step out of a bar into 1940s Germany?
It's the Twilight Zone.
I know.
You don't have to have a reason.
True. I think that's the
whole
point of the movie.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Bill tries to hide within a rundown apartment and meets a French family having dinner. He tries to get help from the French woman, but she calls out her window to the Nazis. Bill makes another run for it, but is forced back into the apartment and out the window. The officers then corner Bill on the ledge of the apartment building, and the Nazis then make a game of taking turns shooting at Bill, trying to make him fall.
Yeah. First off, I don't know if anybody's ever told that French lady that snitches get stitches. Okay? I mean, and not to mention, like, they kicked her damn door down. That's her fault. That's on her.
Yeah.
Okay?
They kind of, yeah. Which, I mean...
You know, I mean, the man was getting shot at by the damn Gestapo. You know,
I don't feel sorry for Bill at all.
Nah, not really.
But
I'm
I
not
also
saying
don't
I feel
want to.
bad for him.
Yeah, fuck Nazis too, though. When Bill lands, he is transported again into the 1950s, where he is being harassed by the KKK. The Klan members see Bill as a black man, and he tries to explain that he's actually a white man. Bill is about to escape from being lynched and runs off. He then dives into a pond and resurfaces, having been transported through time yet again. This time, Bill is in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Bill sees a group of American soldiers and tries to approach them, claiming to be an American. The American soldiers see him as a member of the Viet Cong and begin fire on him. One of the soldiers then throws a grenade, which forces Bill back in time to the Nazi-occupied France once again.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down in that segment. You know, first off, you know, the whole like KKK thing. I thought it was super funny when the as I like to call them ghost cosplayers, when he was erupted into flames. That was pretty funny. But then the whole like getting blown, like being in Vietnam and getting fucking blown back into Nazi Germany and stuff.
Well, we know why the Vietnam segment was cut short.
Right.
And there's a reason for that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we'll get into that.
Bill is captured and labeled a Jew. He is then forced into a train with Jewish prisoners, bound for a concentration camp. From the train, Bill can see the bar and his friends outside looking for him. He calls out to them, but they cannot see him as the train pulls away from the bar.
So, for those of you that are aware of the tragedy surrounding the production of that segment, Timeout, we're going to be going over that at the end of the episode, so stick around. So
we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so segment 2 is titled Kick the Can. Our narrator starts off super fun and joyful, telling the audience that sometimes it is said that where there is no hope, there is no life, and introduces the Sunnyvale Rest Home, where hope is just a memory. Inside the home, I think it's like a pharmacist or a doctor. I don't know. It's going over the basic vitamins and supplements to the residents of the Sunnyvale Rest Home, explaining each one in its uses and benefits. Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that it wasn't until then that I realized that Burgess Meredith was the narrator. Now, if you don't know who Burgess Meredith is, he played Mickey in the Rocky films. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Also, please don't let me live in a home like that.
Why would I let you? What do you mean?
Or anybody. Whoever is left in charge of taking care of me.
Oh, you think I'm going to die before you?
No, I'm just saying, like, me specifically, whatever happens.
I don't plan on living in a home like that.
Okay.
They don't really have homes exactly like this one anymore anyway.
No, not really. No.
But I guess we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
In like 60 years. Okay, so outside, Leo Conroy, played by Bill Quinn, is saying goodbye to his family that was just visiting. Leo was expecting to visit, but his son tells him that it's a bad time this week and maybe next week. Leo watches, holding his suitcase as his family leaves him behind. Inside, one of the other residents explains to another that it's every second Saturday is like this. That Conway packs his bags for the visit, but is denied when his family leaves. Also, the building for the rest home is beautiful. It is a very lovely house.
It is. It is.
I love me a good house.
Honestly, like uh, thus far in this segment, it was becoming more and more obvious that the director, because each segment had their own directors, this director was much more, um, colorful and still had that, like, the best way for me to describe it is like a childlike wonderment of everything.
Yeah.
And it started to like occur to me that this director typically did films of that nature and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when I realized that it was Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, that was this. Yeah,
That was
his.
this segment. Yes.
Yes,
So.
that's right. So later that evening, Conway complains about some kids playing and states that old people need their rest. Mrs. Dempsey, played by Helen Shaw, says that they're only playing and wishes that she could go play with them. The new resident, Mr. Bloom, portrayed by Scatman Crothers, says, "Why don't you, Mrs. Dempsey?" And Conway begins to rain on the parade, stating she can't go out and play because she's old. And Mr. Bloom states that it's never too old to play. Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
It's revealed here that Mr. Bloom has been in 6 or 8 rest homes so far. He continues to ask what Mrs. Dempsey would play if she could, and she answers that she would play jacks. And another resident claims that she used to be her elementary school's jack champion. But Mrs. Dempsey says if she could do anything, it would be to dance. Mr. Agee, played by Murray Matheson, then asks her to dance, and Mrs. Dempsey goes, but she complains about her back, so she can't dance. Mrs. Weinstein, portrayed by Selma Diamond, then distracts her with an old nursery rhyme, and Mr. Weinstein, played by Martin Garner, tells her to stop, claiming that she's had a full life and not to go sloppy now, meaning don't lose your mind. Yeah.
Honestly, though, like, I remember one of them said something about being frozen.
Yes. Apparently, he's supposed to be frozen when he dies.
Yeah, which I think that was, oh, man. Was that Conway?
I think it was Conway, actually.
Yeah, because he's like the bitter one, right?
Yeah, he's super bitter about everything.
Yeah, I think he was
Can't have no fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be interesting to get frozen and then wake up at a different time.
But I wouldn't want to be old.
No. I don't know. Maybe by then they'd have some sort of like de-aging medicine.
Maybe. I guess it depends on how long you've been in cryo,
True. And I'm sure like the cryo helps with the wrinkles. No? Is that not how that works?
I don't know. I don't know what kind of effects cryo would have on your physical, body, especially your features.
True. True.
Okay, so Mr. Bloom then asks Mr. Weinstein what he was like as a boy, and he answers that he loved to climb and compares himself to a cat. Mr. Agee claims that he always wanted to be Douglas Fairbanks, the famous actor and filmmaker, telling everyone that he broke so many bed springs and bones by jumping from his dresser to his bed and out his window. Mr. Conway claims he's happy to be old and that his son has promised to have him frozen. There we go. See, I wrote it down.
I know.
Mr. Weinstein says he's already frozen. Mr. Bloom says that his favorite game used to be Kick the Can. And Mrs. Dempsey claims that was a boy's game and her late husband loved Kick the Can.
Yeah, this is my kind of old folks home. Like,
I thought you didn't want to go to a place like this.
If it came down to it and I had to, I'd want to go to one where people were, chill and they still like to have fun and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit around and just waste away.
No, absolutely not. The group continues their conversation about games and how life was easier when they were young. Mr. Bloom tells them that they The day they stop playing is the day they become old. Mr. Bloom then asks who's going to play a game of kick the can with him, and Mr. Conway isn't having it and is complaining that he's going to get someone hurt. Yeah. He's just a wet blanket. Mrs. Dempsey explains that their caregiver, Miss Cox, would never allow them to go play, and it's against the rules. Mr. Bloom continues to give the group some hope that they can play, and he promises that they will play a game tonight. And Mr. Conway is like, "Don't wake me up." Like, he is such a bitter fuck, honestly.
Yeah. And you know what? He not that anything bad happens to him, but because I don't know, because he was such a bitter old man that he missed that opportunity, that he just got kind of what he deserved in the end.
Yeah.
He
is a big missed opportunity.
Yeah. So fuck that guy.
So later that night, Mr. Bloom gathers the group and they begin their game of kick the can. As Conway sleeps, we hear the group calling Ollie Ollie Oxenfree as their voices become more childlike and younger. Mr. Conway says, "Damn kids," in his sleep, and when we see the group next, they have all turned back into children. Even Mrs. Dempsey's cat has turned back into a kitten, which I thought was a really cute touch.
I honestly didn't
that's Spielberg.
I didn't notice the kitten.
You didn't notice the kitten?
Did I? I don't think I did. At least it's not coming to mind now. But
yeah, her cat turns young too with them. Oh, it's so cute. The children enjoy a night of playing, and it's very heartwarming, and it's such a great scene. It really is.
To me, it's very... did you ever watch Hook as a child?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very much like that.
It's very Lost Boys.
And I feel like... I'd have to look this up, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Steven Spielberg direct Hook?
He might have.
It seems like a movie he would have, which... I can see the correlation, obviously, because they're so similar to each other that, because Spielberg is one of those, like...
Steven Spielberg, yeah.
Spielberg is one of those, what we call an auteur director, and so every movie that you see of his has its own sort of, like, flavor, so you can instantly pick up who did this, so... I really enjoyed it. Also, Agee. So Agee as a kid reminded me a lot of like, had that like Peter Pan feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then also kind of reminded me of David Bowie for some reason. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways.
So young Agee asks why Mr. Bloom didn't come with them, and he explained that he wanted to be his true age, but with a young mind. Because Mr. Bloom is the only one out of the group that didn't go back to being their younger self. So the reality of being young again hits the group hard, asking questions like will they stay and who will take care of them. The kids share memories from their long lives and decides they'd rather be old with young, fresh minds. When they go back to their beds, Conway wakes up and sees the children. He then goes and grabs Mrs. Cox because he's a fucking tattletale. But when they return to the room, they all have returned to their normal bodies and normal ages. But not all of them. Mr. Agee pops from his bed and rushes to the window. Mrs. Cox begins to shout at him and is afraid. Mr. Agee begins to climb, or he's afraid, and Mr. Agee begins to climb from the window. Conway walks to the window and asks Agee to take him with him, but he's just like, "You can't come." He must stay with himself, and that there is a destiny that shapes their ends. Conway watches as Agee flees the window and listens to the young Agee playing far off somewhere. Mrs. Cox then closes the curtains. The next morning, the group is full of energy. Conway is playing kick the can. Mr. Mute is speaking and planning to plant a garden. The Weinsteins and Mrs. Dempsey are going to a lake trip, and Mrs. Cox is still searching for Mr. Agee. Mr. Bloom smiles at the group full of life and then starts to walk away from the Sunnyvale rest home and arrives at a new one.
Yeah, yeah. That was obvious. Like that was the most kind of wholesome segment of the whole film.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it'd be a really fucked up prank to play on somebody. So like, imagine this old man laying in the bed, and and there's other old people sleeping, right? And then you just swap them out for kids, right, with the same clothes on, and then he wakes up. Like, that'd be a fucked up prank.
That'd be pretty fucked up. I'd feel so bad for that old person. Like, why not him? Why can't he be young again?
Oh man. Dude, that's really sad, actually.
It was super sad.
Yeah. But oh well. It's only gonna get more fucked up from here.
Okay, so segment 3 is titled It's a Good Life. The narrator introduces Helen Foley, age 27, who is making her way to a new school teacher job. Helen, portrayed by Kathleen Quinlan, stops at a diner and gets directions from Walter, the owner. There's a lot going on in the scene, and you don't really know where to look. There's this kid playing a video game. There's some rowdy locals complaining about the kid. There's the owner who's having to go between the two because the game is causing the TV to static and go out a little bit. Then the owner gets really creepy, asking Helen all these questions, and you can tell that she's uncomfortable and she's just trying to be polite.
Yeah, so Mrs. Foley, so the actress that plays her, Kathleen, she played Marilyn Lovell in Apollo 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, holy shit, I know who she is.
Well, I mean, I know it's true, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I watched that movie.
Yeah, because like...
How many times do you think you've seen that movie?
Apollo 13? Yeah. Shit, dude. I don't know, man.
You've seen that movie so many times.
I remember meeting Gary Sinise when we were in Japan.
Yeah.
And that was what I told him, that Apollo 13 was my favorite film of his. Which, I mean, granted, I wouldn't necessarily call it his film. It's just
he's in that.
He's in it.
He plays a really important part in that film too.
He does. He does. But yeah, that's what I remembered her from.
I told him my favorite was The Stand, and he was like, "Wow, that's a long time ago." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's good."
I think you just like Rob Lowe. That's what it was. Wasn't he in it? He was in it, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was in it.
I haven't seen. I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, creepy Walter, played by Dick Miller, is pulled away from for a phone call from his wife. When the TV static's out again because of the kid in the video game, one of the locals gets up and pushes the kid down. Helen, shocked by the action, goes to the kid and helps him up, and her and the local bully share a glare down towards each other. When Walter comes back, he apologizes and says Helen's lunch was on the house, and there's an exchange between Walter and the locals as Helen leaves, and it's like he had called dibs or was expecting more from Helen or something. It's just weird. He seems very disappointed that Helen's leaving.
I think he's disappointed simply because of what happened. He gave Helen the sandwich and stuff on the house. So because of what happened, he missed out on that sale. I think that's what happened. Does that make sense?
I think he was trying to hit on her.
Oh, he definitely was. And that's why when he got the phone call from his wife and stuff, and she was like, your wife. So, yeah.
So outside in the parking lot, as Helen leaves, she hits the kid, Anthony, with her car. Anthony is played by Jeremy Litch.
Dude, she creamed the fuck out of that kid, bro.
She hit him pretty hard.
I was like, that kid's dead.
He kind of went tumbling.
He has passed away.
So Anthony is okay, but his bike isn't. Anthony asks for a ride home, and Helen agrees and drives him home. And he tells her that his parents don't really care about him, and that today is his birthday. And after a bit of driving, they arrive at Anthony's house. and there's all these old cars littering the front yard. And you think you might want to question that because they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere as well. You might want to like draw attention and ask about those type of things.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So inside, Helen is bombarded by Anthony's family, but it's not what one would expect if someone told you that their family didn't care for them. Also, all the family members seemed excited and happy to see Anthony, and they start to swarm Helen, who is clearly very uncomfortable with the situation.
Yes. Yeah. Uncle, what was his damn name? Uncle Walt. I think that was his name. Dude, he was giving those fucking creepy ass like Ted Bundy vibes. I didn't like that. That was weird.
Helen is then invited to dinner and she starts to say no, but the mother and father insist. And Helen then asks to go to the bathroom, and the family confiscate her purse and sweater as she follows Anthony up the stairs. And as soon as she's gone, the family begin to go through her purse like animals.
Mm-hmm.
They are just like in there grabbing and yanking and all kinds of stuff. And as Helen follows Anthony, the scenery of the movie changes. The charming farmhouse is now a black and gray, simplified and modern type of setting with really hard angles and bold lines. And it's all black and gray. There's also a picture on the wall. It's a portrait of family. It's all black and gray. And it's almost like a paper doll type style of imagery, of art. And then back downstairs, the family is going over Helen's belongings as if they haven't seen or had things from the outside world in a really long time. So, yeah.
Oh, so I don't know if you noticed this, but Ethel, who is Anthony's sister, is played by Nancy Cartwright.
Who's that again?
Nancy Cartwright is most famous for being the voice of Bart Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Matter of fact, like I don't think I've ever seen her in anything like
where
live
she acts?
action.
Yeah.
Since or before. Yeah, like so. But as soon as I saw her and I heard her voice, I was like, because I already knew who Nancy Cartwright was, but I was like, dude, this is wild.
Okay, so also I didn't mention this, but there are these old black and gray cartoons playing on these old vintage TVs everywhere in the house. In almost every room there is a TV with some sort of creepy cartoon, like classic Disney black and gray like cartoon. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Helen discovers a bedroom with all three matching like twin beds, the same bed sheets, the same teddy bears on each bed. And then there's a girl in a wheelchair watching the old cartoons on one of these TVs. Helen calls out to the girl, and Anthony appears and explains that that's his sister Sarah and that she was in an accident. The view changes and the audience can see Sarah's face and that she has no mouth. It's like all blended in. It's morphed and,
yeah.
There's no mouth.
Think that scene in The Matrix when Neo is being, interrogated by Agent Smith, and how are you gonna make a phone call if you're unable to speak? And his fucking mouth just disappears.
Yeah,
that's
melts
what it was
into
like.
its face.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
It was pretty crazy. The lighting and the intensity, like in her eyes and stuff, it's insane.
I really liked the lighting and stuff. Like I thought it was super interesting because it was like this cross-hatched sort of lighting pattern and stuff, and it gives that really like unsettling feel to it.
Oh yeah.
And it is completely separate from or different from the rest of the house, like you were saying. So it's really weird.
So downstairs, the family is enjoying Helen's things as Anthony lets them know he's coming downstairs. The family freaks and starts to put Helen's things away and put out their cigarettes. The family moves into the TV room and start watching cartoons, and Mother then leans down between Helen and Anthony and asks if he remembers where supper is. And then he explains it's in the oven. Supper is served, and the family has a healthy and filling meal of candy apples, chips, ice cream, and hamburgers with peanut butter on them. Ugh.
Yeah.
Helen questions the food, and the family tells her that Anthony eats whatever he wants. And Helen explains it's not good to eat like that all the time, and Anthony agrees, and the family start to agree with him. Helen then says, of course, it's a birthday supper, and the sister then complains, and Anthony glares at her, causing her to flip her plate.
Yep. Yeah. That whole do you know where supper is?
Yeah, like, where's the food?
It's in the oven, Mother. Jesus fucking Christ. That's when I knew, like, okay, something is fucking
That's when
wrong.
you knew?
No, I knew before this, but I was like, bro, because I couldn't pinpoint it. It was like, what are they, robots or something? I just didn't know. And then it was starting to occur to me, even more so when they finally brought the food out, and it was all things that kids would want to eat and stuff.
It's a bunch of kid food.
You know, and the more and more I saw of the segment, I was like, okay, this is exactly, like, this is coming from a child's imagination.
Yes.
You know, so that's, yeah, I don't know. It was super weird, though.
So after dinner, or supper, what do they call it? Dinner, yes. Helen tries to leave politely, and Anthony isn't having it. He says that his uncle is going to do a trick and forces Helen to stay. Uncle Walt dons a top hat that suddenly appears, and he nervously sets up his trick. He reluctantly pulls a normal rabbit from the hat, but Anthony demands an encore. This time, Uncle Walt pulls out a mutant rabbit from the hat. And at first, Anthony is loving it, but when Helen screams, he demands that the mutant rabbit go away, and it disappears back into the hat.
Yeah. Very interesting special effects, though. I really liked it.
Oh, yeah.
I really
the special effects throughout this whole movie is pretty great.
Yeah.
The mutant rabbit, though, gnarly.
Yeah.
Gooey, wet looking, no hair.
Which I mean, it's only going to get weirder, though. Like, I really like the next thing they're going to see.
Okay, so Helen tries to flee, but Anthony says he can make it however she likes, and as long as she stays. Anthony then notices a note that was slipped into Helen's purse saying, "Help, Anthony is a monster." Anthony then starts to get upset, and the family tries to calm him down. He explains that they want to send him away just like his real parents.
Mm-hmm.
He questions who wrote the note, and the family turn on Sister Ethel real quick. Ethel then tells Helen all the details about Anthony and the things that he's done to others. Anthony then wishes Ethel into the cartoon land, and the family and Helen watch as Ethel on the TV as she runs from the murderous cartoons.
It's almost like a weird twist of fate how Nancy Cartwright, who, when this film came out, she was not yet
a voice actress.
Yeah, she wasn't a voice actress just yet. But she wound up in cartoons anyways.
Yeah. Pun
intended.
It's kind of crazy. It's a little spooky. The Twilight, if you really think about it, the Twilight Zone movie is it's a weird movie.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's supposed to be. I mean, obviously taking a lot of source material from the show and stuff.
Yeah.
And what Rod Sterling did with that. I mean, I feel like they stayed really close, really true to the character of the show.
So, Helen makes a run for the door, but is cut off by a giant eyeball. Anthony then explains that all he has to do is wish for something and it happens. He then stares at the TV and it starts to break down and spin, much like the Tasmanian devil from Looney Tunes.
Mm-hmm.
When it stops, it's revealed to be a devil. It's more devil than Tasmanian, really. Helen then demands that Anthony wish it away, and Anthony then claims he hates the house and wishes it away with everything else. Anthony and Helen now linger in this other plane of existence, kind of, and the rest of the family has been sent back to where they came from. Helen then offers to be Anthony's teacher and student, promising him that she'll be with him forever and always. He takes them back to her car, and the two drive off together, flowers blooming as they drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole like Tasmanian devil thing in their TV, I was just like, I think there's something wrong with their TV. But yeah, I really thought it was going to be the Tasmanian devil at first, but that I feel like they would get like a fucking copyright strike or something like that.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean that was definitely an interesting segment for sure. I wasn't expecting the whole like kids' imagination and like, you know, he's essentially come up with the whole house.
So, segment 4 is called Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. This last segment is a retelling of one of the most classic and frightening episodes of the same name, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. This is the episode that you think of when you think of the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Like, I have seen a handful, probably more than a handful of Twilight Zone episodes. And this one is the one that scarred me as a child.
Yeah, well,
that creepy gremlin out in the
So to be completely honest, and this is probably not going to be a surprise to anybody listening to the episode, if you know me, I have not seen this episode. I've not seen the original episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I know what it's about, and I know the whole William Shatner thing. The first taste of this episode.
Sorry.
Yeah. But it's, you know, Ace Ventura mocking William Shatner, you know. So, but obviously this segment is really good.
Yes.
Really good.
So, John Lithgow plays John Valentine, a passenger on a plane during a violent thunderstorm. John has locked himself in the lavatory and is having a bit of a freak out. The captain even comes onto the intercom and lets the passengers know they're hitting a storm and then they need to return to their seats. Flight attendants try to get John to come out of the bathroom and go back to his seat for his safety. John downs some pills and washes his face before going back to the seat. The flight attendants try to calm him down and help him, to his seat. Doesn't seem to really be working for him.
No, but his acting chops are really coming through in this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is such a good actor, even today, by today's standards. Like, because I think the most recent thing I've seen him in was like, he was in Interstellar. He was also the voice of Yoda on a radio show of Star Wars back in like the 80s or late 70s, early 80s or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's definitely, his acting chops are really coming through in this.
Oh, yeah. The senior flight attendant offers John some sedatives, and the moment is interrupted by a little girl snapping a Polaroid of the pair. The flight attendant then puts the girl back in her rightful seat, and John starts to smoke. The little girl then somehow has a dummy like a puppet, telling John the captain said no smoking. It also earns him a nasty glare by the huge guy in front of him, in the seat in front of him, and he puts the smoke out.
Yeah, that kid, bro, this whole segment, that kid is just so nosy.
That kid is something else. That's for sure. As the other passengers rest, John tries to read the newspaper but freaks out when the headline reads "Airline Disaster Worst Ever" and he puts the paper away. He then notices movement outside his window and peers just in time to see something slide off the wing and under it. He rubs his face and looks again and sees some sort of like humanoid creature crawling on top of the engines. Um, John puts his glasses on and looks again. He watches as the creature is hit by lightning, which in turn hits the engine. John freaks the fuck out and screams, "There's something out there." All the passengers look out the window, and now the creature is gone. John goes on a rant and tries to make up some sort of excuse of what he saw, but then comes to terms that it's impossible. The flight attendant then tells him to go to sleep.
There's something on the wing. Something.
You good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You got it out of your system?
I did.
Okay,
I had
good.
to.
No, you're fine. John tries to sleep again, but he can't help himself in the end and looks out to the wing, and the creature is staring back at John. He freaks out again, and the other passengers and even an air marshal tackle him down. Some weird shit goes down while John is being calmed down. Like the big guy carrying the little girl off with him as she cries, "Mommy, a strange man's got me." And the mother wakes up all drowsily and asks, "My God, what has she done now?" What the fuck, lady?
I mean, it's the 80s.
Lady.
It's the early 80s. You know,
Lady.
obviously she doesn't. She's just so out of it. I don't know. What struck me as weird though is that big man
Mm-hmm.
is an air marshal.
No, that wasn't the air marshal. He was just the guy sitting in front of John.
Well, no, he flashes like a badge. He's because like oh, when did that
Mm-mm.
happen? Yeah, he tells the first officer like I'm a FAA
Oh, does he?
something or other.
I
Yeah.
missed that part.
Okay. Yeah,
But
because he
still.
also pulls a gun.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's
there was
later.
so much happening in this
Yeah.
segment, honestly. It was a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
I might have not caught that. Damn, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
John tries to convince the others about the creature on the plane, and the captain asks what John thinks is wrong with the plane, and he explains that the outboard engine number 1 is out. And the captain confirms that the lightning struck it and it's out, but there are 3 other engines, and there's little chance they lose another one. As the captain gets up to leave, the plane hits some turbulence, causing the storage compartments to open, allowing things to fall and roll around. The other passengers are freaking out now too. John looks out the window to see a gremlin on top of the other engine outside. John grabs the Polaroid from the girl and snaps a shot of the creature from his window. But the picture isn't clear enough to show the creature. It just shows the reflection because it's the flash in the window. An oxygen container rolls to John's feet, and he picks it up and begins to try to break open his window. The other passengers and the marshal tackle John again, and John is able to grab the gun from the marshal and shoots the window. And we all know what happens when something opens up on a plane mid-flight. But you can go ahead and explain it, Troy.
Well, you know, inside the airplane there's pressure, and outside the airplane there's less pressure because you're moving fast. So you have rapid decompression, and it tries to suck everything out the airplane. That's what happens.
Yep. The big guy is holding on to John, who has been sucked out of the window, and he's just holding on for dear life. John takes this opportunity to shoot at the gremlin, making the creature run up to John and bite the gun in half. As the plane approaches its destination, the gremlin grabs John's face, and as it wags its finger, it leaps from the wing of the plane. On the ground, John is rolled away in a straitjacket. The crew and the passengers exchange theories about what happened, and the crew chiefs and mechanics begin to examine the wing and the engine. They discover the engine has been ripped to shreds somehow. In the ambulance, it's revealed that the driver is the passenger from segment 1, or
the prologue.
The prologue. Dan Aykroyd's character. He puts the radio on and is playing Midnight Special by CCR. The driver then asks John, "Do you want to see something really scary?" Cue the Twilight Zone theme music as the ambulance drives off.
Yeah, yeah. I really loved how they came full circle. Like
Mm-hmm.
they connected the last segment with the beginning of the movie, and so it felt like there was some closure.
Yeah.
So that was nice. But yeah, I that whole last segment, I would have just pooped myself.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It
Like,
was a great way to end the movie though, to
yeah,
have that last segment, that nod
yeah.
to one of the most famous like episodes ever.
Hmm.
So it was really good.
I have also heard rumblings
Mm-hmm.
that there's going to be either a new show or a new film, and I heard
I think
that
Jordan
Jordan
Peele. I'm pretty
Peele
sure the new one's already like aired. It was a show, I think.
was it?
I think so. We'll have to look into
Okay,
it.
yeah, I'll have to look into that.
This film is particularly known for a tragic accident that occurred during the filming of Time Out segment, directed by John Landis. Actor Vic Morrow and two child actors, Micah Day Micah Dai Lee and Renee Shin Yi Chin, I think is how you
I
say it.
think so.
I apologize if I messed that up at all. And they were killed in a helicopter crash caused by a special effects explosion. This incident led to a high-profile legal case and a significant change in Hollywood regarding the use of child actors and safety regulations on set. Troy knows a lot more about this because this is literally, his job or the job that he wants in the future. So I'm gonna let him go ahead and take the lead on the ending to this.
So, that event in particular uh, is undoubtedly one of the most tragic events in cinema history, um, and it is the reason we have a lot of the um, regulations concerning child labor and stuff on film sets. Like children can't work more than like 4 hours or something like that on a film set. They have to have certain um, people present, like either a guardian or a parent has to be there with them, and so on and so forth. So the scene being filmed involved Morrow's character trying to escape from a Vietnamese village while carrying two young children, played by Micah Din Lee and Renee Shin Yi Chin, who were 7 and 6 years old, respectively. The special effects were being used to simulate an aerial attack, including pyrotechnics and a helicopter flying close to the ground. During one of the takes, the helicopter, piloted by Dorsey Wingo, was flying at a low altitude, approximately 25 feet or 7.6 meters above the set, when a combination of the explosions from the pyrotechnics and the rotor wash from the helicopter caused the aircraft to lose control. The helicopter's tail rotor was struck by the explosives, causing the helicopter to spin out of control and crash into the riverbank where Morrow and the two children were standing. The helicopter's rotor blades struck Morrow and the two children, killing all three instantly. So, with the legal and ethical fallout of this, the accident led to a high profile legal case. John Landis, along with several other crew members, including the helicopter pilot and the special effects coordinator, were charged with involuntary manslaughter. The trial lasted nearly a decade, and all defendants were ultimately acquitted in 1987, though the case raised significant questions about on-set safety and the use of child actors in potentially dangerous scenes. The incident had a profound effect on Hollywood, leading to stricter regulations on the use of child actors and more stringent safety protocols on film sets. The Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild of America introduced new rules regarding the employment of minors and the use of special effects. The accident also left a lasting mark on the careers of those involved, and particularly John Landis, who faced considerable public scrutiny despite the acquittal. The accident remains a somber reminder of the potential dangers in film production, particularly when special effects and stunts are involved. It also serves as a case study in the importance of safety, ethics, and the responsibility of filmmakers to protect their cast and crew. So yeah, I mean this film, along with many other films that fall in that category, such as The Crow. There's a film called Midnight. Was it Midnight Rider? I can't remember. There was a film about Greg Altman or the Altman brothers or something like that,
Okay.
where people died. Anyways,
And even like more recent events with Rust.
yes, yeah, the death of Helena Hutchins.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, film set safety is something that not a lot of people are
Aware of, I guess, or really comprehend.
are cognizant of. But it is something that requires a tremendous amount of thought and detail and respect
Caution.
for. Yes.
Yeah. Because even when you're not like on a set that has like explosives or guns or stuff, you still have very large equipment. You have
Yes.
giant lights, things hanging. Usually there are some cranes and stuff, so it's really important to practice film safety.
And even with the short films that we've done, there's things that could have easily happened that could have injured either one of us.
Yeah.
So, that's something that everybody needs to be aware of. So,
yeah.
But that's it. That's the episode.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening too.
Yeah.
If you came by the live, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We did record the live, so hopefully we'll be able to post that somewhere. Where we are thinking about starting a Patreon where we can post, recordings of the episodes, perhaps.
Yeah.
And just open it up for donations or subscriptions or whatever, and see what happens.
Your support means a lot to us.
Absolutely.
Even just listening and watching is great.
Yeah.
And sharing, if anything, just share it.
Yes. Share it to just expand the reach. And this is just as much you guys' podcast as it is ours. You know, so we just want to share it with as many people as we can.
Yeah.
So
where can they find us, Troy?
Well, you can find us on Spotify, as well as YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Yep.
You can also reach us on our social media accounts, such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Twitter.
Yep.
So from us here at And I Made Him Watch, thank you so much again for watching. Keep those popcorn bowls ready, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.